Hello everyone and welcome back to another weekly altered video. Hope you've been well. We're back again with Moyo and Silk. Didn't leave it too long in the pipeline because there were a few changes that I was really excited to make about this deck. It's nice to be keen to play something a little bit different. Had someone in the comments also give us a bit more of a suggestion as well, so we're trying that out today, but we'll get into that in a second. If you don't like seeing this hero, tough. My channel, my rules, and if you don't like it, feel free to subscribe anyway. I would appreciate it. But there's a few changes that we've made from the original list, a couple of things that didn't work. First things first, we are off Celebration Day. There's a little bit of tension in the deck there where no matter what you do, if you cast Celebration Day, the moth token that you create with your hero's ability won't do anything. So we're off that one, hoping that we can finish the games before the prison loop is necessary. So we're playing a little bit more forward than we would have been. Obviously drawing the card was still good, trying to replicate that feeling of I believe it's Aether Shard with the Celebration Day out to get through more of our deck, but playing a little bit more to the board now. So to that effect, we're down on the Celebration Days, gave us a few rare spots that we've used to fill. We've got 2 Kadigirs in here, thank you Ajordat, much appreciated. So we're going to try that one out today, see if we can drop one of those, and then one of our big spells, which are rare Winter Novas now. We've gone up on the rare Sakurabaru's Fury 2. So that one's a bit different. Basically it acts as an expedition wipe and then pushes it back, costs 8, so as soon as you cast it you can replace all of their creatures that are there with a mana moth of your own. Hopefully that can turn a game for us at some point. We're on the rare Moth to a Springs as well. And then we found some space too for some Baba Yagas just to help us keep our hand large. Plays really well with Silas. In the common slots, we've downgraded our Alilos. Costing 5 ain't that big a deal. A little bit of extra power, which I thought might be good. Rather than the 1/1/1 you get for 4, because we don't really have any ways to buff it anymore. We're off the Bravos Signets. That was just a bit of a rough one to try and resolve. Obviously an Alilo plus a Signet is 10 mana on its own. If you play an Acolyte from reserve, still costs you 9. There are better things to do with your mana. Magical Training we've bumped in there, and we've gone up on the Banishing Gates too. Heavy on the removal, 3 off you goes, 3 Banishing Gates, 2 Blizzards. These in particular because they trigger Moyo and Silk, so you can hopefully try and, flip an expedition on your opponent, get rid of important permanents as well. So we're trying to control the game there. 3 Conjuring Seals. We've flipped a couple of our common numbers here, so 2 Studious Disciples, 3 Acolytes. Obviously these Acolytes try and help us play out all of our big spells a little bit more often early, maybe turning a 2-card hand into a 1-card hand, so we're up to 3 on those. And we've made some changes in the uniques. Baba Yaga still stays. Put a card from your hand in reserve to draw a card, rips through your deck. Probably not as good as it is in the prison version of the deck that we were trying to play earlier, but like I said, that list, you're probably better off just playing Akesha and Taru anyway. But we swapped out the stinky ones that we had for some that are slightly better. So Tooth Fairy fills your reserve quite high, plays well with Studious Disciple, that it reduces the cost of a spell if you chuck it in there, or you can play it. Makes your Disciple cheaper and just a little bit more sabotage. So plays to the board, stat positive out of reserve. moves a lot of things around, and the Kadigir and Alchemist. A little bit suspect on this one. We don't have a lot of ways to activate support abilities out of reserve in the deck. So usually at most this will be presenting 2/2/4 power by returning something from reserve to your hand, but obviously playing anything out of there will provide boost, so hopefully that comes in handy. Probably an upgrade on the Man in the Maze. That was a proper stinker. That's the list. Bit of a change in direction. Hopefully it functions a little bit better than the previous list. Really hoping that we get a chance to showcase the Kadigir with a Winter Nova or a Sakurabaru's Fury, so we'll be on the lookout for spots to do that. But we're not all in on that, so we've only got 3 8-drops here plus the Kadigir, only 2, so we're not really focused on doing that, but it'll be good. Fingers crossed for us. Let's get into game 1. And we're in game 1 for Moyo and Silk. Let's see how we go. We're playing second against Yzmir and Wigspan. Not sure how this one's going to go. We can always, with our 5-drops, negate their token each turn. This is a decidedly rough hand because we have no creatures on turn 1. We got the magical training, so we might be able to get lucky. Moth to a Spring will be good in a couple of turns, but we'll start with that one. Magical training, we'll off you go something, see if we can slow them down a little bit. But if we don't hit on a 2-drop for this turn, we're going to go down potentially 0 for 2, 0 for 1 at best. And we'll see how we go. Might be a rough matchup. They're going to be able to put pressure on us early and often with that little token. So we'll see if we can slow them down enough to take the game over with our big old spells. Too early for the Kadigir, but it is the first appearance of that card in the deck. And this might be a rough matchup for it as well, assuming our opponent is playing some form of permanent removal. The one I'm thinking of is license withdrawal, for what it's worth. Alright, we'll see what they want to do. Hopefully a 3-drop that we can send to reserve with an off you go. But if not, we can play it a bit slow and magical training first anyway. I feel like this game's going to challenge my ability to waffle through things. Alright, that's something to do next turn anyway. We'll see what they want to do. Good thing is, playing second, even if they do play a 1-drop here, we can send something to the bin. We'll just pass the turn. Playing first doesn't feel great to play our Silas out. It's only going to be worth 3 power. But we'll check and see anyway. I think we're going to have to drop him here, hoping that we can get something through. I'm going to drop it on the companion side to dodge their token, because we can see with the Trooper that they'll be able to block and then use their 2 mana on the other side as well. In a bit of a rough spot, just with the hand that we drew, but that's alright. We'll just rip through our deck and hope that we can hold off until we can do some other things as well. I don't think our opponent's going to be particularly feeling the pressure from what we've done over these first couple of turns. At least we have a creature to play, so we could off you go Baba Yaga next turn. Moth to a Spring does something as well, so we can math that out. The Baba Yaga gets 3/2/2 on board. The Off You Go can take something off as well. Or the Moth to a Spring can get 6 power onto the board, plus drawing us a card next turn. So we've got an option if we want to play aggro, an option if we want to play a bit slower. Get rid of the Off You Go because we've got a cheaper option in hand here. And that's too many Conjuring Seals. Although that will come into handy later on. One thing to note about the list that we are playing, don't have the celebration days to save us as an out as we hit that mid to late game and hyper late game that we're aiming for. But we've got other options. Okay, so our opponent's going to have lots of options. So what do we think they're going to do? They could boost the trooper, play it. That'd be the ideal case, I think, for us, for that Off You Go. So I think we'll Baba Yaga here. Alright, magical training, but we're kind of locked in on the Off You Go. Just bouncing whatever it is that they actually play. We're hoping to see them boost and play the trooper so we can get rid of it. They still have 2 mana to use with their remaining cards. So maybe boosting a 3-drop from hand would be preferred if our opponent was doing what they wanted us to. But they don't always do that. Oop. So they've committed to the saw, just deciding whether they want to play something from hand or the trooper from reserve. I think what we'll do is at least force them to play out another card here and get rid of that one. This one we might keep around on the off chance that we get our Alchemist unique to return it to hand. Alright, successful heist. We get away with that one. I think now we'll get rid of the training and the Baba Yaga. Alright, not the time for a spycraft. So we could Silas for 4, off you go, something that they play. That'll get blown out by license withdrawal though. So what we'll do is get rid of that error. See if they want to sabotage him away. Coming in for 6 power would probably win us something. So if they play a 3-drop or less, we'll continue to think about that. Five mana for Yzmir is definitely enough to challenge on both. But I think this is our opportunity to Moth to a Spring. And we're going to send both to the companion side so that if they want to contest there, they'll have to expend resources on both sides. And it will, if they don't play both of their cards out, we're guaranteed to progress on one side at least. They still can, but our opponent having few cards in hand is definitely where we want to be. Alright, 1 for 1 ain't bad there. We've still got a window where we can try and catch up. We've got a few creatures for actually contesting here. So we're going to get rid of the Baba Yaga, access to draw if we want to play out a creature with this Silas here. We get to see what they want to do. Off you go, won't hit Fiore, but it will hit the messenger. And we've got to count out our mana. So 4, 5, 6, 7. So we could play Disciple, off you go Silas to use all of our mana and at least make them spend some cards trying to contest us. Big red buttons shown up for our opponent, but we'll let them think it through. Got a Legate here. think we'll drop the Silas, hoping that we're dodging the license withdrawal on that side. Alright, what do you got for me, champion? I think they would have snapped off a license withdrawal if they had it in hand. Would have been very good for them right now. So hopefully we can dodge that one, and if they don't play anything out of their hand, it's either going to be Fiore or the messenger. And I think we just hit the legate here and actually double advance. I liked that. That felt good. That's all of our off you goes. So we're going to be looking at our significantly more expensive removal here. So Blizzard's Banishing Gates. We'll get rid of one of the off you goes because we want to potentially drop the Disciple with the Silas here. We did get the Alchemist. Alright, Alright, they're going to be making a lot of creatures, so Charge is live. Teamwork Training is also looking very zesty for them. But I think we just start with a Magical Training. The Alchemist isn't going to represent a lot of boosts here, but it does represent an off you go, which we like. Two, three, four. Okay, interesting choice. The companion side expeditions are poor for our Alchemist as well. So I think we're just going to commit to the Conjuring Seal here. We'll make the Manamoth anyway. One, two, three, four, five, six. Have to ascend 4 mana, we get 6 into there. Tooth Fairy and one of the Disciples will be good here. Alright, so if we play out the Silas, what does that look like? We get 6 power where it matters, so if they have anything in hand that they can actually play, we're in a bit of trouble there. However, they'll be able to sabotage away the legate. That's alright. I'm pretty sure we do the thing anyway. Another Silas looks nice here. And it all depends on what our opponent has in hand. If it's a charge, they just double win. We take that back, but they did use a lot of cards to get there. Alright, fair enough. It's alright from them. Nothing we could have done to block that. No hunger to save us either. Notably, not a hit for... yeah. Not a hit for Moyo and Silk's ability. Good thing is, we're going to have lots of options. Playing second, I like that. We'll get rid of one of the disciples. And then we do actually have a choice that we need to make. So we could Kadigir Winter Nova here. Or we can play it slow. So if we sabotage one of their creatures away, alright, I think we'll do it like this. Put the off you go back in hand. And then whichever creature they play out, we can sabotage the other one. Off you go that, and then we just have one creature to contend with. That's our 5 mana. Yeah, maybe Winter Nova Kadigir might have been better there actually. We're pretty much 100% set up for that. Yeah, I feel like I lost this one just doing that. Interesting. So if we Tooth Fairy away, the Legate, and we actually chuck a Studious Disciple into reserve. Damn, close. Okay, so we can double advance and we actually go to tiebreakers here. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to do that by... Oh no, there you go. I forgot, whenever a card leaves the reserve, he gains a boost. Alright, sweet. We had that one. Look at us go. Didn't even know we were winning there. But yeah, woo, cards. Playing more cards wins you games. Think about it. Alright, there you go. Had to wait for our opponent, but we got one on the board. I like that one. Alright. Alright, and here we are with game 2. Well, updated Moyo and Silk list. We're playing first. And we're up against a Kojo and Buddha. Been seeing a lot of those lately. So let's see what we can get done here. Not a lot. I'm thinking maybe we do it like this. Play out the Disciple and the Acolyte. Turn 1 when our opponent doesn't have the Buddha token. Then drop Moth to a Spring off of the Disciple or Acolyte. No. No, it has fleeting. And we won't be able to afford casting it if we play the Acolyte. Alright, this looks fine. We'll deal with it. Got rid of Winter Nova Banishing Gate Conjuring Seal. 2 3-ofs and a 2-of, so we've still got those going somewhere. I think what we're hoping to see is a... Alright, Tengu. Alright, just a vanilla creature, see what they want to do with their remaining mana. Could be a Tiny Djinn, which would let them 1 for 2 us, but we get away with it. Successful heist. Alright, dodging any sabotage on specifically the Disciple. We can reduce the cost of our Moth here with a little bit of information as well. Alright, we've got 2 options here. I would like to cycle the Magical Training, but this actually maps out our next 2 turns fairly okay. If they don't interact. 4, 5, 4. If they play out Tengu, yeah, Alilo doesn't make sense here. So I think we'll do we'll do 2 on the companion side here. So what that does is it means that if they want to block us with the Tengu, it means they have to let us advance on one side. And if they want to block that side, they'll have to do something else. So they can only block us here with 1. Had we played one of the moths out on the hero side, they could have boosted with Isenboshi. Actually 4-5-4 blocked us and just advanced and gotten ahead. So we've put them to the test there, and they passed. Alright, no Winter Nova, that's a bit sad, but we do have options here. We could Acolyte into Baba Yaga into Off You Go. Try and play out some decent creatures. And I think we'll start with that. This deck's taken on a bit of an identity change here. We're actually trying to play towards the board a little bit more rather than our super late game, so ripping through our deck with our resupplies and all of that. Not as great, but we have a bit more play during these turns here as well. I think this is a good time for a Lilo. We'll get our Moth, actually put a bit of power on the board. And see what they want to do. They've got free reign, but their Haven's not doing anything. Gonna have to use 2 cards, and then next turn, in the very worst case scenario, we'll be able to Off You Go what they play out of reserve, or even the Buddha token. Refill our hand a bit with the Baba Yaga as well. And hopefully start taking over the game. Acolyte's showing pretty well here. Giving us a chance to reduce the cost of one of our 5 drops, get ahead early. Obviously our opponent hasn't necessarily ramped here, but it would have kept us up a little bit. And get to see what they want to do. They would need a 2-1. Yeah, so they wouldn't have been able to stop us from advancing here. There you go, and they ramp. They're not sure what to boost. So boosting something on the hero side would actually stop us from advancing, but they wouldn't get their Grems. If they boost here, they do advance as well. So game just closes up, everyone actually double advances, which is incredibly interesting. Because now we're both 2 away. I think that's good for them. Speeding the game up would let them try and finish it to their advantage before our card advantage comes into play. Obviously being up effectively 1 card here with what they've got in reserve. With access to the Buddha token, they might be able to get ahead. So it's going to be our job to try and either slow the game down or push on from there. Definitely not the time for the Kadigir. And these stats do not line up well for our Baba Yaga at all. So I'll do... Oh, we did get a 1-drop, which might be huge. Unfortunately, little guy doesn't have any stats in green. That's a problem. I think we'll leave it at that. Can't block him with the Disciple, we'd have to get rid of something from reserve. Manage to advance. Don't have any Celebration Day to save us here. But I am wondering about the validity of just off you going the token. They would have advanced on 1, we wouldn't have advanced at all, but they'd be 1 further away, as would we. I think slowing the game down is to our advantage here. We'll Spycraft the Priya. That's a cool little interaction. Silas gets resupplied, he gets the thing off the off the Spycraft, gets a boost. Kinda cool. Serengar's a rough draw for us. Yeah, I think they just play him out on the hero side, and there's not much we can do about it. They just got over the line, so I reckon we probably misplayed there. That's alright. I reckon we'll just pack it in here. Nothing we have in hand will let us do anything. We'll hit him with a GG. And hit play again. Alright. Alrighty, and here we are with game 3. Small brain break after game 2. Misplay might have cost us. But we're back. We actually like when that happens, because we learn something and we're better for it. Alright, mirror matchup here. Interesting. Going to come down to the cards that we draw. I think I like this. So we can Acolyte and Magical Training on turn 1. Not the strongest of turns to start the game off, but Conjuring Seal plus Acolyte on turn 2 draws us a bunch of cards and sets us up. Hopefully our opponent wants to play slow as well. We'll see what it is that they want to do. They're playing first, so we get some information there. I think we'll drop the Magical Training to see what their second card is, if there is one. And we'll get to play. Eventually. We're alright for now. There was a card I was thinking of out of, I believe it is Skybound Odyssey, that may have some form of play in this deck. Alright. Alright, they want to make landmarks. Interesting. We'll play out the Acolyte and take a sweet 1 for nothing. But back to that card, Lost in the Riptide. I went looking for it in between games, but it is a 4-drop that you can play for 3, which allows it to only target a card in blue. On turn 1, your opponent's always going to be in blue, so you can put something back on the top of their deck and make your moth. Might be something to consider when we're looking at the deck tech, or the debrief, sorry. Second Conjuring Seal versus Banishing Gate and Blizzard. I'm interested in Banishing Gate in case they play Kadigirs of their own. I actually think we're going to keep the extra cards around for now. We'll play out the Acolyte. Let's just play one of our Conjuring Seals. We'll see what they want to do. It costs 7 or less, so they're going proper big mode. Draw 3 cards, make a moth, see what they want to do. If they trade 1 for 1 here, that's fine with us. Interesting choice. Going to be able to resupply with the Aerolithia. Starfish. So if they play any spells out of hand, they're going to get something decent. I think we'll get rid of one of the spycrafts. Oh, they play their own. Interesting. Here's one I prepared earlier. Proper mirror match mode. I like it. I'm a big fan. Sea Nymph. I think we actually like staying on green here. However, with the Sea Nymph, they'll be able to make one if we advance either way. So we're going to play it on the hero side, because we would be able to advance if we contested here. But this will give us access to green on both sides, which is good for our Baba Yaga. They can make an aerolith out of reserve as well. We've got access to a banishing gate already, so we'll get rid of that fella. Disciple and Tooth Fairy actually seem pretty zesty as well. So I think we'll get rid of the Baba Yaga. We've got plenty of ways to draw in hand, so we'll just keep that going. Drop the Tooth Fairy on the hero side to take advantage of our blue. Chucking the Disciple into reserve to resupply does make our Silas a bit weaker as well, but we might not look to be playing him anyway. Resupply is kind of cool to see, because it means they don't have anything better to do. They'll play out the Starfish. We don't have any way to take advantage of the Disciple here. Or do we? Do we Conjuring Seal and just lock up this side? Nah. We'll just play the Magical Training for free. If they want to off you go our Tooth Fairy, we can just replay it. Plus the Baba Yaga. And we look pretty cool there. 1 mana left. Can't use Off You Go, so if they did have that one, we dodged it. Sakuraba's Fury looking pretty weak here, seeing as we can't play it next turn. So we'll get rid of that in one of our magical trainings. Keeping creatures available is what's been keeping us ahead this game, so we'll just stick to that plan. They can drop a 9-drop this turn, so Winter Nova looks a bit scary. That's online. Grand Celebration's online. I think we'll just take the opportunity to play slow. Got 1, 2, 3 1-drops available to us, so Conjuring Seal, don't need 2 of those. We'll see what they want to get done. I think we'll try and wait them out here with a Magical Training. Moth to a Spring looks pretty zesty as well. Three, 3, 3. Alright, they got nothing else they can do, so we'll put 1 on the hero side, 1 on the companion side, get an off you go, and we'll make our extra moth and advance twice again. We'll keep the Tooth Fairy around. Get rid of 1 of the magical trainings and see if we can close this one out. Alright, not going to need to draw any more cards this game. We've got access to double Silas. But I don't think we're going to play it. If they play out a Hunger, they're going to hit the Tooth Fairy anyway, so we'll deal with that. Because we know it blocks the Acolyte. Seven, 8, 9. Get rid of him. Doesn't actually let them play anything extra. I don't think there's any 10 mana spells in the game just yet. But if they don't have another creature in hand, we kind of just win, so we'll take that. Winter Nova. I could just be making a lot of moths here. Interesting choice. Six. Do we have a 1-drop? We do. So we're going to play the Disciple. Oh, I messed up. Or did I? We'll see. If they pass, we didn't do too bad. Definitely want to draw the card first here. And there we go. That one was a little bit testy. I think if our opponent had continued to stall the game out, we might have started to struggle there. But we took the stance of the tempo deck, not the control deck in that matchup. And it worked out for us. Alright, on to the debrief. And there you go, 3 games done with Soy and Milk. A 2-1 record, lost to that Kojo and Buddha in the middle, which was a bit rough considering we had other lines we could have taken that may have extended the game out. Played a bit greedy during that one. I would say, not off you going the Buddha token. But that's good. User error is good, means the deck works a little bit better. Slightly better record than last time as well, and a couple of ideas to push the deck forward too. Everything works. We were sort of trying to stay ahead of our opponents on the number of cards and options that we had available to us. Obviously very important when you're playing so many big spells. You need to be able to see a lot of cards to be able to use your mana effectively. And we didn't get a chance to showcase the Kadigir. That one never hit the board. Probably be good in matchups, but certain matchups, but with conditionless permanent removal being fairly present in the game now, I'm always a little bit scared. I don't know. I think I just worry too much that they'll have a license withdrawal or a Lost in the Woods or something like that in hand. And you just, you're left with big spells in hand that you can't really play. Definitely came to that conclusion in game 1 against Yzmir and Wingspan, but we got over the line anyway. Alright, time to go through the deck. The Alchemist impressed. I was very happy and lucky with that. We got a lot of ways to get cards into hand. Both of our other uniques will put a card into reserve. Tooth Fairy actually does 2, so you can always play something from out of there. 3 Spycrafts as well. Pretty big deal, and obviously, when you're playing big hitters like this, odds are that you'll have something in reserve from the previous day as well. So that one surprised me, gotta say. Tooth Fairy, Baba Yaga, generally pretty good. Ripping through the deck, not as important at the moment, considering we're not trying to play that prison side of things. But yeah, we're going in the right direction. Big fan of that. Were I to make changes, I'd probably still look at changing the Kadigir. Big apologies to Ajordat. That suggestion was good. I think it's got a place in this deck if you were to build it different, but maybe it's not my play style. But I think what we'll do is we'll keep it in for now. I did consider one card throughout the videos there, and I think we'll try and find space for those. Still sus on a Lilo. Obviously boosting it, keeping it around, would say maybe a helping hand or that Bravos Signet like we were hoping for last video. Probably a good idea. Puts 6 power on board for 5 mana, so it is actually positive when you include the moth token, but it just feels so hard to get into play. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to shave on the banishing gates. There were a lot of times where we weren't too keen on casting that one. Obviously ended up with a lot of them in hand, chucking them into mana. I think the blizzards are good for stuff that has tough, or when you need to get rid of multiple creatures, so we'll stay on those ones. Winter Nova, Sakurabra's Fury seem fine, although I might go up 1 on the Winter Nova and down on the Fury if I weren't a bit of a goofball. And I think we're going to actually change the moths to commons as well. So 4 mana makes 4 power, draws a card. This is obviously better. However, we want to try and find some space for those cards too. So if we go down the Alilos and we find that card that we wanted to run, Lost in the Riptide, we'll run 2 of those as ways to cheaply activate our hero ability, even on turn 1 if we're lucky. And we're actually going to go up a Studious Disciple as well. Got 2 more spots to fill. I actually don't know if the deck needs Baba Yaga here. There may be more ways to draw cards that I'm not considering. But what we'll do is we'll drop 2 Moth to a Springs there and leave it for now. I'll think about Baba Yaga here. But I like this as sort of a mid-rangey version of Moyo and Silk. Obviously you can go mad in on the 8, 7 and 8 drops, you know. Try and get through to that point in the game with cheap removal. Maybe instead of blizzards you run evanescences to slow your opponent down or something like that. But I like that this deck can actually go over the top of those low to the ground decks too. So, you know, the way it's built now, it feels like it can take either the control or tempo stance against the opponent, depending on what it is that they want to get done. A lot of spots to take advantage of places where your opponent's weak, and just fun to play. You know, down a couple of creatures, but up a couple of ways to get Moth tokens out early. Not always going to have a target for that one if you're on the play, but we're going to try that one next time. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, deck's done. Small changes. We'll keep iterating on it. This one's fun. I don't know if it's better than a Fanis and Senka, but I think after the nerf it's probably worth considering this guy as well. You know, leave the hyper late game prison elements to Akesha and Taru, where that after you just absolutely pops off. Alright, there you go. 3 games done. Hope you had fun. I certainly did. If you got any suggestions, leave them in the comments. And see you next time. Love your work.